Engine performance 1, test 3. Technician A says drivability problems may be avoided by using top-tier gasoline. Technician B says drivability problems may be avoided by always keeping the fuel tank at least 1/4 full. Both of them are right about that. You know, if you run your vehicle on empty all the time, you pick up stuff. Now, I will tell you this. There was a time whenever the fuel pickup was hovering about an inch off the bottom of the tank. And if you run a lot of time with your gas tank really low, do you run yours low a lot? You keep it full? Keeping it full is good because you don't have as much condensation on the inside of the tank. Those moisture condenses on the inside of the tank, it collects in the bottom of the tank, and over a period of time, even though somebody had been putting good gas in there the whole time, they would have enough water sloshing around up under the gas where it would go up and you'd pick up a bunch of that water and all of a sudden you'd be doing this. Or they'd say, president of the college one day years ago, it was a different president we got now, he said, my Dodge truck, when I make a left turn, it dies. And he had a whole bunch of water in the gas on that one because he's making a turn, it would die, you know. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Technician A says using lower octane fuel in vehicles than for premium fuel will cause serious engine damage. Technician B says some octane boosters will cause discoloration of the porcelain on the spark plug tip. Who's right about that? Technician B, you're not typically going to cause serious engine damage. Some of them will claim if it pings really bad, it can damage it, but most of the time you won't notice a problem. I will tell you this though, if you put premium gas in one that's supposed to be running on 87, it may run lousy when you first start it cold. Seen that before. Seen a guy work on one half a day because of that, and we found out he's using premium gas. Which of these is not a possible effect of using gasoline with alcohol additives? Oh, incidentally, on the porcelain tip, first time I ever ran into that issue, my brother was putting an octane booster in his 71 Thunderbird because it had one of those 375 horsepower 429s in it, and it started running bad, and we pulled the plugs out and they were sort of a rusty red color. It's a strange look to them, and the octane booster caused that. And I was seeing, I hadn't seen it for a while after that until occasionally at the Ford dealership. One day there was a guy that had a brand new Mustang, old man. Mustang didn't have 11,000 miles on it. He was pouring octane booster in it, and it was cutting up and surging and making a fuss. And I actually pulled the plugs out of that one, and you could actually see where it was carbon tracking on that red stuff down the porcelain to the side of the spark plug, and it was misfiring whenever you were driving. And so we put some different plugs in it, told him to quit putting that octane booster in there. And I'm not saying all octane booster will do that, but I've seen it do it on more than one or two. And my brother's vehicle was the first one I ever saw it on. Which of these is not a possible effect of, never mind. Oh yeah, number 3, excuse me. Which one is not a possible effect of using gasoline with alcohol additives? A, increased octane, B, increased volatility, C, reduced CO emissions, or D, all of these can result from, that's D, you know. I will tell you this, there's not as much energy in alcohol as there is in gasoline, so you're not going to get as good a fuel economy off of alcohol as you will gasoline. If a regular grade gasoline is used in an engine designed for premium gasoline, what may result? That says so, C, both A and B, reduced engine power, reduced fuel economy. And what is the difference between premium gas and higher octane gas and regular gas anyway? I mean, huh? The premium gas burns slower. It's a slower burn. You're moving slowly in the direction of diesel fuel. That's why it runs lousy on cars. You know, all this stuff is happening nowadays in nanoseconds in there. And if it's not burning fast enough when it's cold, it'll be like you put some, you know, the winter and the summer gasolines have got different formulations. And if somebody has one sitting up all winter or all summer, and then they try to drive it in the winter, they may have it running bad. The winter gas vaporizes easier than the summer gas does. And but you don't ever know it because you're just going to the gas pump and buying whatever gas they're putting in there.
So you said 4 is C?
Yeah, 4 is basically supposed to be C if you do go by the answer key. Adding up to 10% ethanol to gasoline can increase its what? Volatility. Makes it slightly more volatile. Once again, though, it's not going to help your fuel economy. Reformulated gasoline contains at least how much oxygen by weight? Now, that's an interesting question. That's D, 2%. 2% it's oxygenated fuel. Which of these symptoms may be caused by excessive ethanol in the fuel? Rough, idle, or stall. Whenever we get to this point right here, I can tell about this 89 Taurus that I worked on that would not hardly run. When it was cold, it was just horrible. You'd pat the gas to keep it alive, and if you ever got it warmed up enough like that where it would keep running, it would smoke a little bit when it was sitting there idling. But when you took it out there to drive it, it ran like a spotted ape. I mean, it ran like, wow, what have they done to this motor? And it turned out that it was a rental car, brand new rental cars in 1989, and some yo-yo had put a bunch of diesel fuel in it. When he went to gas it up, he put about 2 or 3 gallons of diesel in it. And the way I found it was I got some of the gas on my hand, and I waved it around into the air until it got, till the gas dried off of it. Then I smelled my hand, I smelled diesel. And so I got that gas out there and put regular gas in there, and it ran like a new car. But it would start and die, start and die, start and die. Furthermore, it would ping a little bit. Remember in engine repair how we were studying doing a wet test when you put the oil in there to see if it's the rings, and if the oil seals the rings a little better. If they're not sealing, you get a higher compression. Well, if you're perpetually putting greasy stuff in there that's doing a wet test all the time, your compression goes up and that makes it ping. So anyway, I told that story one time about that car running so good, and one of my students actually went and put a bunch of diesel in his little Ford Ranger to see if it would run better. I can't believe he did that. Oh boy, I'll tell you some stuff about that. Huh? He said it didn't, but he didn't get the mix right. It's not just put some in there and it'll run better. That guy just so happened to get it just right so that it was hard to start cold, but it ran really, really good if you got it warmed up. And let's see, where am I going here? Which of these symptoms may be caused by excessive ethanol in the fuel? I already said that one. Air-fuel ratio is described as what? The proportion of air to fuel by weight needed for gasoline to run, proportion of air to fuel by volume needed for gasoline to run, either A or B, neither A or B. That's basically number 8 is going to be A. You burn, if they always figure, engineers always figure fuel by weight. And like even, you can understand why they would, instead of telling you how many gallons of fuel you put in your fighter jet, they want to know how many tons you put in there. Because weight means everything when you're flying. Well, engineers, whenever the injectors that you see on a car are typically color-coded based on how many pounds per hour of fuel that injector can deliver at a certain pulse width, And so, like a Mustang would have 19 pound per hour injectors on it, and a Crown Victoria would have 14 pound per hour injectors. And the Crown Victoria injectors would be gray, and the Mustang would be orange. So that's something that you look at right there. That information is hard to come by, though, unless you can find, something that somebody's published on it. Let's see. Oxygenated fuels reduce CO in the exhaust by doing what? They remove oxygen from the CO to make carbon? Do they add oxygen to the CO to make CO2? Both A and B, neither A or B. That's basically going to be B. That's the only one there. I'm moving as quick as I can here. Always fill gasoline cans on the ground to prevent static electricity. That is true. If you got a gas can in the back of your truck and you're up there standing in the back of the truck filling it up, like that one guy did at the gas station in Enterprise several years ago, it may set you on fire. You don't ever think about it, but all it takes is one little static spark from that hose with that gasoline vapor. Ooh, this goes up. I saw a lady the other day at the gas station, looked like she's about 75 years old, and she had a gas can in her trunk. And she's getting ready to pump gas in it. I said, why don't we put this on the ground? It's really high. The gas pump will tell you that. It says fill gas canners on the ground. You don't put them in your vehicle. So that's true. All graduated cylinder or small open flame can be used to test for alcohol content in gasoline. No, you don't use an open flame. What you do is you fill up a little graduated cylinder that's got 10 graduations. You fill it up to 9. You add another graduation of water. You shake it up and let it settle out. And if it gains water, however much it gained is however much alcohol you got. Number 12, liquefied petroleum gas is also called, what is that? Propane. Anybody know that? How much compressed natural gas does it require to achieve the energy of 1 gallon of gasoline? This is a good little bit of trivia, isn't it? 122 cubic feet of compressed natural gas it requires to achieve the energy of 1 gallon of gasoline. There's enough compressed natural gas under the ground out there in Texas, or actually natural gas, to supply all of America's energy needs for 1,300 years. Natural gas is under the ground, just in Texas, not counting what's everywhere else. Producing. Wait a minute. When refueling a compressed natural gas vehicle, why is it recommended the tank be filled to a high pressure? That's a sort of a no-brainer there. Basically, you're going to get more range. You're not going to, CNG is not an evaporating thing anyway like that. Producing liquid fuel from coal or natural gas uses which process? This is good if you're on a game show. Fischer-Tropsch. Right that. Technician A says the stoichiometric ratio for gasoline is about 9:1. That's not right. Technician B says the stoichiometric ratio for ethanol is about 9:1. Who's right about that? B is right about that. And so basically you got 9 parts of air to 1 part of fuel, right? That's how that works. How many gallons of air do I burn per gallon of fuel? How many gallons of air goes through my engine on the average for a gallon of fuel? I mean, it's going to go up and down per vehicle, but it's an average of 9,000 gallons of air for each gallon of fuel that goes through there. And using an ethanol or enhanced or reformulated gasoline can result in reduced fuel economy. That is true. Of the alternative fuels listed in the text, which has the highest octane? It's compressed natural gas, ethanol, propane, or methanol. That's A, compressed natural gas. And Technician A says vehicles capable of using 100% ethanol is known as flex fuel vehicles. Not really. Technician B says these vehicles are unable to achieve 100 horsepower. Who's correct about that? D, neither one of them. 85% ethanol is a flex fuel vehicle, 85 down, up to 85%. And if, you're pumping 85 out of the gas tank, you're never going to get more than 85% if you're always pumping E85 in there. How many flex fuel vehicles are in our college fleet that you know of?
2.
I know of 3. It's not one we routinely service, but the 2006 Crown Victoria on the other campus is flex fuel. I didn't know that till the other day. I was looking up something in it, and I noticed the 8th digit on the serial number flagged it as flex fuel vehicle.
Isn't that the Dodge minivan, Caravan?
Yep, the Dodge minivan and the Dodge Stratus. Those are both flex fuel vehicles. A lot of people drive a flex fuel vehicle, they don't know it. Flex fuel vehicles have got better fuel pumps, better injectors, better fuel components than a regular engine, because they have to have, because that alcohol tends to attack stuff. You know what I mean? So if you want to buy one that's going to last long, get you a flex fuel vehicle and just run regular fuel in it. Now, if you have to have a flex fuel sensor, you maybe have your feelings hurt about that because they're really expensive. There's one right over there. It was like, if I'd have bought it at the dealership, it's $700. We got one on Amazon for $300 and something. It was a Delco. Let me see here.
8 or 20.
20. A vehicle burning compressed natural gas loses how much power as compared to gasoline? That is A, 10%. Stoichiometric ratio for compressed natural gas is 16.5 to 1. An engine designed to burn compressed natural gas may include what design modifications? An increased compression ratio. You can buy you a Crown Victoria, or used to could, that was outfitted to burn compressed natural gas. One of the problems with it, though, is you can't just stop and get that anywhere. You got to go find, you got to have a station. If you're on a cross-country trip and you're running low on compressed natural gas, you're going to be scratching. You better get your phone out, talk into it and say, where can I get compressed natural gas? Let's see, a flex fuel vehicle has enhanced fuel system components that include all of these except A, corrosion-resistant fuel injectors, B, low-temperature resistant O-rings, C, stainless steel fuel rails, or D, corrosion-resistant fuel pump.
B.
And that's going to be B, actually. It's not going to have no temperature-resistant O-ring. You know what I'm talking about? I used to make up stuff for when I was writing tests. I would say something about a heated hydrocarbon vent. Boy, that would just confuse everybody because it doesn't exist. Flex fuel vehicle uses the PCM to make adjustments to the engine according to the percentage of ethanol in the fuel. The PCM must adjust which engine settings? Both A and B, quantity of fuel delivered, ignition timing. I know the ones of you guys that were in here last time, remember that red GMC Yukon or whatever it was that was sitting here? It sometimes was hard to start when it was cold. Found out it was fouling out the spark plugs because the flex fuel sensor was under or over reporting how much alcohol was in the fuel. It was putting too much fuel in there because you need more if it's got that much alcohol. It was fouling out the spark plugs, and so we put a set of plugs in it and a flex fuel sensor on it, and they're driving it even today. That was a peculiar deal. I wrote about it in one of my Motor Age articles. Which alcohol, excuse me, I'll wear a, what am I going at?
25.
25, golly, I missed several of them. Methanol fuel vehicle exhaust contains, what does it contain? That's formaldehyde. That's what you put in a corpse to keep it from rotting away in the casket. Methanol used for fuel can be what? Can it be used for alcoholic beverages? Does it require a rubber or plastic fuel system? Is it toxic? Does it have a higher heat content than gasoline? C, it's toxic. Wear a short sleeve shirt when working with fuel so any spills can easily be washed off. They say that's false, but anybody that's ever been wearing a shirt and has spilled gas on that shirt, you ever spill gas on your shirt and it stings like a son of a gun because that cloth is keeping it there? I mean, I understand what they're saying, but I mean, I'm not going to put on a long sleeve shirt just so we're working with gas. I mean, I can wipe it off, you know what I mean? But if it gets on your clothes, that's when I got problems. I don't know what they were thinking when they wrote that question. That may be something related to OSHA, but I don't like it. Methanol is also called, wait a minute, I'm sorry, wait a minute. Yeah, okay, methanol. Methanol is also called what?
All the above.
Wood alcohol, methyl hydrate, methyl alcohol, all of the above, that's right. And in 29, which alcohol is most dangerous? That's A. 30, which is the most widely used alternative fuel. What do they use more of than anything? Propane. You know these big old propane trucks that you see driving? It's got the big canister ball of propane on the back of them. It is, the last time I knew anything about it, it is illegal to haul one of them behind a wrecker. If one's broke down, it has to be moved some other kind of way. You can't haul it with a wrecker. I've had to go fix them out there where they were sitting when they quit. And they're always outfitted to run off the propane that's in the big tank. You know what I mean? I mean, they got the fuel system set up to run propane, they got the stuff on it, and it'll be drawing out of the big tank, and the injectors are just clicking dry. You know, the fuel injectors on the gas burning engine that we put in that truck. I always figured you just unplug the injectors, you'd be better off. Let me see. The higher the cetane rating, what happens? Cetane is how you measure diesel fuel. Easier it starts when it's cold. If you got a higher cetane rating, it won't be as hard to start when it's cold. And this is talking diesel. The API gravity of number 2 diesel fuel should be about 35. Technician A says diesel fuel has more heat energy than gasoline. Technician B says grade 2 is the grade commonly recommended for normal service in an automotive diesel engine. And who's right about that? That's Charlie. Specifications for diesel fuel include pour point, flash point, cloud point, all of the above. And ultra low sulfur diesel fuel has a maximum of how many parts per million of sulfur? That would be 15 parts per million. That's not very much. All right. Now, oh, did I jump over that one? I don't even know what the question says. D? Yeah, that's, there you go. All right. Now